Hello everyone, hope you all are doing good. In today's video, I would like to talk about the Ricoh GR III. Basically, I would like to share my opinions and my thoughts, what I like, what I do not like about the Ricoh GR III. And I've been using this camera for more than a year, so I think I've used it enough to give you my honest opinion or make a review of this camera, and hope you guys can make an informed decision if you want to buy this camera or if you want to decide if this camera is for you or not. If you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Ansar. I am a hobby street photographer. I've been doing street photography for some time now, and I really like street photography. And in this channel I would really like to share my thoughts about my street photography experiences. If you like what you see and if you like what you hear, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps. Also, if you want to spread the word, please go ahead. Now that I've taken care of the mundane stuff, let's get to the main stuff, the review. So in this video, I mainly want to talk about things that I really like about this camera and have stood out for me and have kind of satisfied my needs for street photography. So it's very personal. It has satisfied my needs for street photography. Also in this video, I will be sharing some of my photographs that I've made with this camera. If you like these photos, do let me know your feedback in the comment section below. Always open for fair and good criticism, so no problem, go ahead. If you want to see more of my work, just head over to my Insta page. I'm pretty active there. So first things first, the specs of the Ricoh GR III. I know you're wondering, why is this guy kind of sharing the specs of a year-old camera? The main reason being, I would like to use them as building blocks for this video. The Ricoh GR III has a brand new 24 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It's a big jump when comparing it to the Ricoh GR II, which was a 16 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. The next new thing that is in the Ricoh GR III is a new 18.3mm f2.8 lens. This is a newly designed lens. It's super sharp, amazingly sharp lens. The Ricoh GR III also now has a phase and contrast detect autofocus system. We'll talk more about the system autofocus in a while. There is IBIS for the first time in the Ricoh GR, so really helps in eliminating those micro jitters and getting stable shots at low shutter speeds. And there is a system that is available to get your dust off the sensors. An ultrasonic cleaning system is now available in the Ricoh GR III. And finally, a beautiful 3-inch LCD touchscreen. The touch interface is just amazing. So let's get started with the main points. The first one is the 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. This sensor is just beautiful and I really like it. The image quality coming out of the Ricoh GR III and the megapixel, the resolution is good enough, allows for cropping. It's a big thing for me. Sometimes I feel 18mm is a bit too wide for my liking, but sometimes you want to cover, or in street photography you want to get more into the scene, and if you have the resolution you can crop in later. So the 24 megapixel allows that for me. So the 18mm allows me to capture, I'm able to get more of the scene, and I'm able to use the resolution to crop in and kind of get rid of distractions. I would not crop in so much because then you start losing details. So 24 megapixel is pretty standard nowadays, and I think Ricoh have delivered on this. So it was big jump from the Ricoh GR II, which I think had a 16 megapixel sensor. The next one which I wanted to talk about was the autofocus system. Autofocus system is great. I would not say it's amazing like the Sonys or the Canons. It's not what you would compare this camera with Ricoh GR III for the kind of incremental steps that Ricoh has put in the GR series. The GR3 is up there. It's one of its best. Yes, it can be improved. There is room for improvement. Ricoh has been good enough to give us many firmware updates over the time, but of late they have kind of stopped. I don't know why. So Ricoh, if you're listening, maybe a few firmware updates would help to get more juice, or get much more better performance. I mean, better performance is what I mean, is what I want is only at conditions with not enough light. So low light conditions, the autofocus kind of struggles. So there maybe Ricoh can do something, but then Ricoh GR III has many tricks under its sleeve for you to just forget about autofocus completely. I'm talking about snap focus. Yes, it's kind of zone focusing, but if you've mastered snap focus and if you know how to use this, I think it's much faster than autofocus. Compared to any other camera, I think even for your Sonys or whatever, even how many milliseconds fast your autofocus has become, I think you still have to and press your shutter in order to get the shot. Ricoh with or any other system with zone focusing is much faster according to me. Snap focus is amazing, and I will get to it in a while. I will not be explaining about snap focus. I know many people have done many reviews about it. If you want to see something about in those lines, let me know. So it's kind of more zone focusing. If you just do a quick search on YouTube or on Google for zone focusing, you should be able to learn more about it, and also about snap focus. On a side note, if you want to learn more about Ricoh cameras or street photography and other stuff, I would highly recommend you guys to check out Samuel Lintaro's YouTube page. It's just amazing. He's super funny, super informative, and I just love his content that he puts out. Very grounded and very good street photography content. He hosts excellent street photographers as well on his channel. Beautiful Ricoh GR projects. Please check out Samuel's channel. The next one they have is the IBIS, so the in-body image stabilization. There is a 3-axis in-body image stabilization in the Ricoh GR III, and it is designed to eliminate any micro jitters, so reduce shakes during slower shutter speeds. So it really works well, and I really like it a lot. So having such an IBIS system really helps in getting more light into your sensor, because it's an APS-C sensor and it's not a full frame. So when you want to get more light into your sensor, you have to shoot wide open. So f2.8 is kind of how wide open this lens can go. So the next one is you attack is your shutter speed. So at a slower shutter speed, Ricoh has cleverly implemented IBIS, which allows more light and get beautiful shots at slower shutter speeds, which are much sharp. Also, you can be more creative in getting shots, kind of blurry shots, which also kind of play into the scene in a street photograph where you want to show motion. So this is also a very nice thing that is also present in the Ricoh GR III. You can, even in daylight, I think you can use this system of having your slower shutter speed in conjunction with an ND filter, which is also available in the camera inbuilt, and that helps you to get some unique shots. And yes, finally there's also the ability for you to do highlight weighted auto exposure. If you really want to expose only for the highlights, you want to get those contrasty shots between the highlights and shadows. Yes, it's available. There's an auto exposure mode now where the camera will expose for the highlights without blowing it out, and you will be able to get those amazing shots where a person just enters or moves into the highlights, or those kind of shots, the light architect kind of shots. You know who I'm talking about. Also, the last thing which I want to touch upon is the beautiful 3-inch LCD, the touch interface that is on the LCD. It's one of the best. I really love it. Ricoh has done an amazing job in implementing a beautiful touch interface which responds like a charm. It works as well, as good as Canon or Panasonic, not as bad as Sony and Fuji. They have touchscreens, but it's the baby touchscreen. Ricoh has done an amazing job already, so kudos to that. I really like it. It really helps in the scene to move your autofocus points, change your menus on the fly. Complete touchscreen, superb. Let's move on to the body of the camera. It's a very minimalist camera, and not many buttons are available on this camera body itself. So there is a power button, there are a couple of dials in the front and the back to change your shutter speed and aperture, and then there is a kind of a mode dial. I think there are like 4 or 5 different buttons at the back, very small, but I think the placement and the fit and finish and the feel is just amazing of these buttons. No complaints there. Sometimes the buttons can feel a bit finicky and a bit wobbly, but I think when you buy the camera the first time, you might feel that they look or feel pretty plasticky, and it might break, or it might break over a period of time. I've had it for a year so far, no problem. I've had some issues with the wobbly control dial. I've made a video before, and I think I found a fix for it where you just use a spray gun to get rid of dust or debris under this control dial, and then that issue was kind of solved, at least for me. I've not had any issues with any dust in the sensor, which is also one of the biggest complaints that the Ricoh GR II users have had. The next one is the battery. It's the same old battery, I think. The battery life is not great, but the battery life is not that bad. I think I am able to get easily 300 shots with a single fully charged battery. Close to, I would say, if I have turned off all other like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all other stuff off, I'm able to get more life. Sometimes if I also turn off IBIS, I'm able to get a bit more shots. Yeah, the camera body itself is feels pretty good. It's I think it's completely metal. It's a magnesium built. I think it's the body itself has aged well. So I have had no scuffs or scratches. I just have an additional hand grip. I found it kind of cheap stuff online on the Chinese market. It really fit my camera Ricoh GR III very well, and that's why I've had it on my camera, and ever since I bought it, not ever since I bought it, so about 6 months ago, I think I've put this stuff on my camera, and it stayed there. It's pretty nice. It does not affect the usage of the camera, like the entry to the battery door is kind of not hindered using this hand grip, I would say. Now finally, I would like to talk about the shooting experience with this camera, and why, as I told you guys in the introduction, that why this really works and has satisfied my needs for street photography. One of the greatest things of this camera, which some might argue that Ricoh has forgot to put in, or would always think, this camera doesn't have this feature, can I buy this, is it even a real camera? That is the viewfinder. I think the single best thing that Ricoh has done for street photography with this camera is eliminating or not having a viewfinder. If you have your viewfinder, you're going to use it. Why use it? Get rid of it. Not like what Fuji did with an Expo 3. It's not what I'm getting to. Without the viewfinder, I just look at the scene. I know I have a touchscreen LCD. I have dialed in my snap focus, so all I worry is about now is the scene. Also, don't gather attention by moving my camera to my face to kind of look into my composition. I think over a period of time, when you have been doing street photography for a while, I think other street photographers might kind of agree with me, especially the Ricoh GR shooters might kind of agree with me. If you've been doing street photography for a while, you kind of build that acumen to make your composition in your mind when you see a scene, even before you kind of start looking into the viewfinder or the LCD screen. You know, the subject is going to go here, the light is in this, you have this condition of light, you have a subject moving in a certain direction, and when you hit a snap, or if you take a snap at this moment, you will get this shot in this frame. I think you can make this up in your mind, or if you've been shooting it for a while. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to get there, and this camera is really helping me get there. So I really love that this camera doesn't have a viewfinder. It really makes me think about my composition. What people have always been telling, the greatest street photographers or some people that I really admire, is they keep advising everyone to think about compositions. This camera allows you to do that thinking, and kind of taking away the distractions of the dials and the settings of the cameras. It really lets you focus on the scene without gathering attention. That's amazing. So if you have snap focus, you have this wonderful touch screen. You have now the touch to snap feature also available. Another beautiful thing is I think if you keep pressing it, you toggle between the different display settings. You can also turn off the LCD completely, so it's like just like you're carrying a piece of a small mobile phone or a smartphone. It's just so small and it's very inconspicuous. It doesn't gather attention. All you do is, and if you love shooting from the hip, this is the perfect camera. And the images that come when you nail your focus, you have good light, everything comes together like in any other photograph. Even in the Ricoh GR III, when all the factors come together at the same time, when you have perfect composition, you have good light, and you have dialed in your settings, and you have the good you have good focus, yes, you get beautiful images that are like just out of this world. But let me get to the other point. When you want to do photography, as I mentioned, at conditions with not great light, I think the ISO performance is not so great for this camera. I've seen some reviews where people say it can go up to 3200 ISO. I would not do that. 6900 ISO is kind of the max I would like to stick to. Get like super clean images, that's what I mean. Yes, even 3200 or 6400 ISO is no problem. You can get good images. I have shot, but if you want to get clean images, I would stick to maybe 1600 ISO. Also, focusing at the night is not so great. Battery life is not so great, but I don't mind carrying 6 batteries. The batteries are really small, so I don't mind carrying 6 or 8 batteries for the Ricoh GR. It's also very small. It doesn't take much space, so they're also very cheap. Also, the next one which I wanted to talk about is the size. The size of this camera is so small. It's just as big as your smartphone. It's very easy to carry around with you. I just have it in my jeans pocket, in my front pocket. No one even knows that I'm having a camera with me. I take it with me almost every day, even to work sometimes. So I can get some shots when I'm going to work or on my way back from work. So I've got some great shots. Some people might not. So this really eliminates the need to carry some big stuff or big camera bag sometimes. I don't like to do that all the time, but I've done it a lot these days. Now when most of us are working from home, maybe those situations have kind of reduced for me. But when I was doing it, when I was going to work kind of more often, when I was in the office, I used to carry this camera more kind of every day with me. It stays with me every day. This camera doesn't come with a battery charger. I think most cameras these days do not come with a charger. Good thing is this one has a USB-C input, so I can use any of the cables. There are so many USB-C devices these days, so pretty much I am able to charge this camera pretty quickly and pretty easily anywhere, so I wouldn't complain. And also I can use that USB-C connection to kind of transfer images from the camera directly into my computer without using the SD card to transfer stuff. Also, the image transfer using the app is pretty good. I find it pretty fast and pretty reliable as well. It was pretty not so great in the beginning, but now I find it more reliable. The next thing that I would like to talk about are the colors that come out of the Ricoh GR III, the JPEGs. I feel the JPEGs coming out of this camera are very, very beautiful. It just like the Fujifilm system, there are many different color or presets that are inbuilt or baked into this camera. My favorite is the positive film one. I know many street photographers also like the high contrast black and white that is available. For me, my favorite is the positive film. One of the things, I think, is one of the few cameras that still give you DNG files as outputs for their RAWs. I still hope that someday Ricoh will add support to choose your film stocks or your presets in Lightroom. I hope that someday Ricoh will allow us to tweak the colors in the post using positive film, using the raw files. I hope that Ricoh in the future adds support to change colors for the raw files. For example, if I want to change from high contrast to positive film for my raw files, it's not possible. Ricoh does not do this. Hopefully they can do it in a firmware update. I don't think they'll do it, but just hoping. So that's something that I don't like. Tried some different presets also from Samuel. They work well, but for me, his positive films take is kind of different from what is actually you get out of the camera. So I like his presets, but if you want to check it out, so I'll also leave a link to his presets. They're pretty good. So my closing final thoughts about this camera. I've used this camera for a year. I really like this camera. So using this camera has been just amazing. So this camera has made me get some shots which maybe I would have not thought about getting with other cameras. Not that my other cameras are not capable of making those shots. What I mean is this camera has allowed me to see differently and has allowed me to approach street photography differently, allowed me to see compositions differently, make compositions differently. And if you embrace the constraints that this camera presents, you will just love it. I am pretty sure about it. So if you start using this camera for a while, you just get hooked onto it. It's really amazing. It's not so big to carry around, and it's not so heavy, so it's just going to lie around in your bag, in your pocket. So it's just as big as your phone. You might as well argue, okay, your smartphone can make those images as well. That is true, but you just have to look for the image quality. So the image quality and the shooting experience here is kind of much different. I don't think your smartphone can match, even with 43 or 90 megapixel smartphones. I think they are total full of crap. So the Ricoh GR III, my concluding thoughts. Yes, I highly recommend it to anyone who is doing street photography and is looking for something very compact, or I would also recommend it to someone who's also kind of wanting to get into the street photography game. It is just a beautiful camera. I would highly recommend it. Of course, I would like to have this camera completely weather sealed. Yes, I hope the people in Ricoh are listening. Please make this camera weather sealed. And yeah, as I said, I don't mind about the battery life, and I think with the battery also being pretty small, also keeps the form factor of this camera very small. So I think Ricoh has done an amazing job. Earlier I was thinking about the price. I think this started at €8.99 here so at the introductory price. I think this product was launched with the price of around €900 here. The price has gone down a bit, and I am starting to see many used copies of this camera selling for close to €600, which is a steal. I think you can get the GR2 maybe for €300 now. I've seen a couple of GR2s now for 300, €350. So GR3 for €600 or a new GR for 800 or something during a sale season, you should be able to get it for maybe €700. So highly recommend this camera. do check it out. So if you like this review, hit that like button, and do consider subscribing to the channel, and do let me know your thoughts about the Ricoh GR III. And until the next one, thank you, take care, bye bye.